Okay, good afternoon, ma'am and friend. At this meeting, I hope all of you are in good health. Thank you for the time that has been given to me to present the result of the assessment that I have done. Before they allow me to introduce myself first, my name is Putu Riska Mahanjani with the student ID number 20120211125 for English Education Study Program. I'm from Class 2E English Education Study Program with a speaking course for academic purpose with the teaching lecturer Mrs. Dewa Iwaka. Here I will present about the importance of character education. What are the character education background, definition, system, factor, goal, function, and implementation strategy? Before that, let me first say something before this presentation begins. After I finish bringing this material, I will hold a question and answer session or a discussion together about this material. Well, that's all I can inform you. For that, we will start the presentation now with the first material, namely the character education background. Character education background. In the world of education, there has been a lot of discussion about character education, with the fact that the character of the nation in this era of globalization has declined very sharply. This is the background for the emergence of character education. Education itself is considered as the most effective medium in developing the potential of students in the form of skill and insight. Therefore, education is continuously built and developed so that the implementation process produces the expert generation. Likewise with Indonesia, our nation also does not want to be a stupid and backward nation, especially in the face of an era that continues to develop in the era of technological and communication sophistication. So, the improvement of human resource also needs to be improved in order to be able to produce intelligent, skilled, independent, and noble human resource through the educational process. For the second material, namely is definition of character education. Character education is all effort to direct, train, cultivate good values in order to grow a good, wise personality so that it can make positive contribution to the environment and the wider community. Where did this understanding come from? Of course, from the two forming word, namely education and character. The following is an elaboration of the definition of the two words that make up it. The third material, namely, is the character system. The character seems to consist of many elements that are interconnected with each other. Yes, because character consists of at least three interrelated domains, namely moral knowledge, moral feeling, and moral action, called the character system. The first is moral knowledge. Moral knowledge is the ability of individuals to know, understand, consider, distinguish, interpret the kind of moral that must be applied and which must be abandoned. The second is moral feeling. Moral feeling is the ability to feel that you must always take moral action that are in accordance with the norm and feel guilty if you do things that are not in accordance with the norm or doing evil. And the last is moral action. Able to move and take real moral action that are in accordance with the norm to prevent action that are not in accordance with the norm of environmental goodness. The fourth material, namely, is the factor affecting character education. The first is instinct factor. Instinct is an attitude and character that has been formed since birth. The second is habits. The same behavior is repeated over and over again until you get used to it. The third is heredity. The characteristics of children are partly a reflection of the attitude and characteristic of their parents, both spiritually and physically. And the last is environment. Everything that surrounds him, starting from custom, relationships, school, condition, village, cities, and each other, will have a direct or indirect influence on a person's character. The fifth material, namely, is the character education goals. After knowing what factor influence it, we must also determine in advance what are the goals to be achieved from character education. The purpose of character education, according to Mulyasa, is to encourage students to be able to independently improve and use their knowledge, examine and internalize and personalize character values and noble character so that they are manifest in daily behavior. In addition, the Ministry of National Education states that the objective of character education include: the first is developing the potential of the conscious or heart or effective of students as citizens who have cultural values and national character. The second is develop student behavior habits that are commendable and in line with universal values and religious tradition of the nation. The third is instilling the spirit of leadership and responsibility of students as the nation's successor. The fourth is develop the ability of students to become independent, creative, and national-minded human being. And the last is developing the school life environment as a safe, honest, creative, and friendly environment. The sixth material, namely, is the character education function. The function of character education, according to Zubaidi, is divided into three main functions, namely, the first is function of formation and development of potential, so that students are able to develop their potential to think well, have a good conscience, and behave well and virtuous. Second is function for strengthening and repair, improve and strengthen the role of individual, families, educational units, communities, and the government to carry out their responsibilities and participate in developing the potential of group, institution, or society in general. And the last is filter function. Culture education can be used so that people can choose and sort out their own nation culture and can filter out the culture of other nation that are not in accordance with the values of the nation on virtues, character, and culture. And the last material, namely, is the character education implementation strategy. In the guidelines for the implementation of character education, the strategy for implementing character education in education unit is an integral part of the school-based improvement management program, which is implemented in curriculum development, implementation, and evaluation by each education unit, still from the Ministry of National Education Character Education Implementation Guidelines, so that character education can be carried out optimally. Character education can be implemented through the following steps. The first is dissemination to stakeholder or school community, and other institutions. The second is development in school activities. The third is organizing learning activities. The fourth is development of school culture and learning activity center. So the fifth is routine activities, spontaneously activity, explanatory, conditioning. The sixth is extracurricular activities, and the last is embedding its to daily activities at home and in the community. Well, that's the material explanation from me. For now, we start with the question and answer session or discussion together. For that, if anyone want to be asked about this material, maybe want to add, I invite it. Okay, for the discussion session is over. For that, allow me to provide a few conclusion and suggestion regarding the material that I presented. The conclusion of this presentation material is character education is all effort to direct, train, cultivate good values in order to grow a good, wise personality so that it can make a positive contribution to the environment and the wider community. For advice, there needs to be listened about character education so that the younger generation understand the value of character. That's a little conclusion and advice from me. For reference that I input to find material is this. I have included it in the PPT. Okay, for that, thank you all for your participation in this meeting. If there are words that are not pleasing, please forgive. For that, I say thank you and good afternoon, everyone.